Welcome to Life in the Philly Suburbs with Sharon. I am Sharon Loudenbach. I am a mom. I am a wife. I'm a resident of White Marsh Township, and I'm a real estate agent with Compass Real Estate in the Philly suburbs. I have decided to start this podcast a couple months back because after living almost my entire life, except for my 4 years away at college, I've lived in the Philadelphia suburbs my entire life. So between living here, growing up here, and now working and selling real estate in this region for the last 10 years, I have met and recognized that there are so many great people and businesses that I figured I wanted to bring to my audience. So today I'm going to talk, my little tidbit of realtor wisdom is going to be about what I'm just learning for the first time this year, that there is actually a sweet spot week to list your home for spring market. I've never heard of this before, but all of a sudden it's on the news and in the newspaper and all over social media that the week of April 14th to the 20th this year is the best week to list your home. So I'm sort of guessing that whoever it is that comes up with this week is looking at the holidays and maybe future weather forecasting or whatever else is sort of going on in the world, to see what may be the time that buyers would have like a lull in the social calendar so they could really focus on their home search. So that's something kind of cool. So for sellers out there, if you can get your house ready in the next week and a half, in the next 11 days, we should get it listed because it's going to be the best week, supposedly, in the real estate market. Today, we are speaking with Susan Cooper. Hi, Susan.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. So Susan owns Gabriella and G Lizzie. They're connected boutiques. They are women's and teen party dress boutique in Bala Kenwood. Susan and I, well, funny, just quick backstory. So we raised our kids together. We've known each other, and I've actually known Susan's I guess ex-husband's family my entire life. I grew up with her sister-in-law. And then I interviewed her son very, very early in the podcast. I interviewed Matt Cooper. So he is the guy who's the basketball coach. So
Danny.
Oh, well, you're right. I interviewed Danny. I'm sorry. Matt grew up with my older one. I interviewed Danny. You're right. Anyway, I feel like I'm coming full circle, which is kind of cool. So tell me, let's start by telling our listeners a little bit about you. Tell us where you grew up, where you went to college, and about your first career, because I was just reminded about that last night.
Okay, so I grew up in Fort Washington and I went to Germantown Academy for high school. And then I went to Northwestern for college and actually started my career as a lawyer. I'm a graduate of Temple Law School and I practiced law for about 10 years before I opened Gabrielle in 2007.
So it was 2007. So, and you were practicing in the city where were you practicing? In Philadelphia?
Yep, I was a litigator. I did civil defense work and I practiced in Philly and the surrounding suburbs.
Okay.
So towards the end of my law career, I was working actually in Conshohocken, right down the street from where I raised my kids.
Yeah, that was so tell me, interesting enough, I think it's our age that a lot of people, and I'm going to say women more particularly, tend to make a really big pivot at some point in their life. And it could be around the same time that we're starting our families or the kids are starting to get a little bit older. But you made a major pivot in your life by choosing not to practice law any longer and getting into the dress business, which maybe you can tell our people a little bit about. That's sort of like your old family business. So maybe you can share that.
Sure. So I practiced until I have three children, and I practiced until I was pregnant. I was actually about to have my daughter, who's my youngest.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I was working part-time, literally 5 minutes from my house if I hit every red light. But given the kind of law that I did, it was still very stressful.
Yeah.
So at some point after I had her, I thought, you know what? I don't know that this lifestyle is something that I really want to maintain or I'm going to be able to maintain with three small children. Sort of being on someone else's timetable as a litigator, there are a lot of court imposed deadlines, and I
Yeah.
really just wasn't enjoying the demands of the job anymore like that. So fortunately, I was in a position where I didn't have to do it at that time. So I took a couple years off
Okay.
and focused on just being a full-time mom,
Yeah.
which I hadn't done, when my boys were little.
Right.
And when my daughter was getting ready to go to kindergarten, I realized that, you know what, I need to do something more. I don't feel completely fulfilled just being a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
So at the time, my mother-in-law she had previously owned a very successful women's clothing business on the main line. She had sold her business, and she was also looking looking to get back into the industry.
Hmm.
So she and I decided in 2007 to open Gabrielle, named after my daughter, which was a more focused version of the store that she had, the Clothes Garden in Wynwood. So her store had been sportswear and shoes and much more comprehensive, and Gabrielle was really strictly and narrowly focused on special occasion.
So I know that you know this, so I'm not telling you anything that you don't know, but just for the listeners, Marilyn's original business, I don't even doubt it was even named the Clothes Garden at that time, but like when I was a child, my mother knew Marilyn and knew that her business originally was special dress wear. Initially, I believe, like out of her apartment somewhere, is all my mother had this big grandiose story about Marilyn Cooper and how she made it so big, and it really became a full women's store. I mean, I shopped there. I bought my suit there for my wedding or something, and my
Yeah.
mom's dresses for our weddings came from there. But I remember every year my mom went and got her 3 pairs of wool gab slacks from Maryland's staff that was the absolute best, and her blouses and her, the old way women
The
used
old way that
to
the women used to dress. That's right. When
the
life was a little fancier.
and it was so easy. You get up in the morning, you put on whatever color gab slacks you'd like with your cream blouse, and you put on your blazer, and you're ready to go. We didn't have to like doll up all this other crap that we got to put on now.
Right.
So tell me, how have you felt? I mean, so you're saying it's 17 years now that Gabrielle's been
Right.
around, and the
Yep.
extension of G Lizzie. And how do you feel now being a business owner of an upscale women's boutique? I mean, it's so different from where your brain used to
So
be in the morning.
yeah, so it's really interesting because when people find out that I was a lawyer, they
Mm.
always say, "Oh my gosh, it's so different than practicing law." And the reality is that I really feel like my law school training has helped me immeasurably in my day-to-day running of the business.
Yeah,
In terms of the skills that I learned in law school, I mean, essentially in law school, you're taught to really hone in on the question that's being presented, sift through all of the information, and
okay,
really you're trained to really think very analytically and critically. And I feel like those skills have really helped me immeasurably in terms of the way I do the buy for the store, in terms of the way that we really assess what our customers' needs are when they walk in the door. I mean, I think sort
yeah,
of our superpower, so to speak, is that when a woman comes into the store, we are able to very quickly, like, we know the inventory like the back of our hands. We can look at the woman, we listen to what she's looking for, where her venue is, what her price point is, and we know exactly what in our inventory is going to fit that bill, and quickly and efficiently can put her into, give her many choices, which
yeah.
she wouldn't have if she went elsewhere. And I can't even tell you, Sharon, how often, I mean, literally on a daily basis, that people come in and say, "Oh my God, I can't believe how easy this was.
Yeah.
I've ordered 20 dresses online and returned them all. I should have come here first." But I really believe that one of the main reasons for that is that, my critical thinking skills that I learned in law school really, I mean, just help me every day with what I do and running a business. So
So
it's not that different.
right. There's that aspect that that you've seen kind of convert so well into essentially sales, right?
Right.
But then you also have this aspect of what I used to do when I was running a retail company. And we used to be a part of in the travel, we were a luggage company. So we used to be a part of a family or a couples or whatever. Some of their most exciting experiences of a lifetime for them, these huge trips that they plan, these really exciting adventures. And we really help them through the process because it wasn't like they were just coming in like online today. You just order a black box. It was like we got to know them and we really explained to them and we loved it when they would come back and tell us about their trip. So you are helping people with the most fabulous events in a family, a lot of mitzvahs, a lot of weddings, mother of the bride type things. How has that affected you personally? I know it used to affect me personally.
Yeah, it really is a unique situation. And it's really, I mean, the store has really become, it's just a wonderful community. I mean, being around now, going into our 18th year, what's really exciting, I mean, some of our most, exciting moments are when three generations come into the store. We'll get the grandmother, the mom, and the child. Whether that's for a wedding. I mean, now we could do the grandmother for the wedding, the mother of the bride, and we also have a bridal capsule now. So when the bride comes in to help her mom select a dress, oftentimes now she's buying for her rehearsal dinner or for her engagement party or for, her shower. So it's such a unique situation to be able to see three generations of women all be able to, find something that they really feel fabulous in at the store. It's just extremely unique.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, what also has been really exciting is now that we've been there so long, a lot of our mothers of the bride and groom are women who shopped with us when their children were being bar mitzvahed or bat mitzvahed.
Yes.
So now it's like, not only did we help them for the bar bat mitzvahs, but now we get to see that same daughter who was bat mitzvahed is now getting married. And
Yeah.
sometimes now we've even seen grandchildren. So it's just really it is amazing to be part of people's, really, really happy life cycle events. It's generally a very, very happy place to work.
Yeah, I mean, you're lucky. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's really it's nice that you get to be part of people's happy part of their life, which is
Right.
amazing. And let me just point out something. 17 years in the garment industry, especially through COVID, the fact that you are still here to talk about your business and how successful it is. And I have shopped and purchased there. And so have a lot of my friends who didn't grow up with us, that didn't know us before. I've sent into your shop and I watch people's comments on Facebook. And I just want to give you like a huge kudos. I mean, it's a great, really well respected business. I know a couple of your sales staff. One of them is very, very dear to my heart, that Jackie Toll. So um
Shout out, Jackie.
shout out to Jackie. Um, I mean, it's just a great business, and we're really lucky to have you in Philadelphia, honestly.
Thank
And
you.
in the
I
suburbs
appreciate that.
of Philadelphia. We really are. I mean, I see people posting all the time, like who can help me? I don't want to go to Bloomingdale's or Neiman's or whatever. And like your dress shop is here. So it's a wonderful thing that we are very, very lucky to have.
Thank
Um,
you.
so moving on, you are someone who has lived and worked in Philly your whole life, as I have. How do you see Philly? How do you see Philly? It's so unique to other big cities and the suburbs.
So I really don't know from other big cities, to be honest, but I thought about this a little bit. And I think what makes Philly, at least from my perspective, unique is that a lot of the people like you and I who live here grew up here.
Yeah.
So there is this sort of sense of familiarity and intimacy that you might not get in a bigger city, which is really, really nice. It's funny, Sharon, a lot of times people come into the store and they'll say, I love the dress, but I just want to go to New York. I just want to see what's in New York. And I always say to them, there's no reason to go to New York, right? Absolutely no reason. I know what they have in New York, and I'm telling you, and I would say, honestly, about 98% of the time, people come back after schlepping to New York and they say, oh my God, you were so right. I should never have even gone. There was nothing
Right.
up there. So,
Not to
I
mention
mean,
you go to
Philly,
New York. You do all your
but
buying, a lot of your buying in New
well,
York.
right. Well, of course, that's true. But I don't know. There's still this sort of notion that,
Mm.
New York is better in some ways or has better things. But the reality is Philly is right there with New York. And
Yeah.
it's really about the way that we buy. So there really is no reason to go to New York. We have everything and better here. And but I would say, in answer to your question, I think it's really, there's an intimacy to living and working in Philly that you probably don't get in other bigger cities.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, I'm a huge advocate of Philadelphia and all the suburbs, the tri-state, including New Jersey. And yeah, we just, I I see people that move here from out of the area, even back from when I was running a business on Broad Street. It was interesting. We would get people from out of town all the time in our luggage store because there weren't a lot of luggage stores like that. And people would come in from out of town and be like, "Oh my God, like this city, they just love Philly and the burbs." And we are a very unique area that something runs through the blood of us Philadelphians. And thank God, most of our kids stay. I mean, we're kids of people that stayed. So
Right.
it is continuing in this region to continually be very, very deep, familial, like families
Yeah.
stay
And
together.
I think, I mean, I know the city, and Neil and I used to always joke that as soon as we moved out of the city, it got cool. But the city's amazing now. I mean, there's so many wonderful restaurants and so many fun things. And being an empty
Yeah.
nester, I mean, I'm sure you're in the same position. I mean, now I have sort of the freedom and flexibility to really go and experience all of the things that maybe I didn't have the time to do before. And there are so many fabulous areas. I mean, my girlfriend just moved down to Passyunk. I've been going to restaurants down there. I spent a
Yeah.
lot of time in Fairmount. I mean,
Yeah.
there are just so many cool areas that I really didn't even explore when I was raising my kids.
Well,
So,
first of all, shout out to Fairmount. I have a listing coming there tomorrow. So that's all good.
yep, yep,
Um, the some of those areas are definitely still continuing to be gentrified. Like um Fairmount is a perfect example. When we were younger, we wouldn't necessarily have gone to Fairmount. Like there just
right,
wasn't the same buildup of unique businesses and breweries and all these things that we can go visit now. But
right.
I am selling a lot of people's houses back in the suburbs because they're moving in town. I mean, I'm gonna miss a lot of my friends dearly. It's like they're dropping like friggin' flies. But people are really looking at the opportunity to have that sort of more active walking, a little bit more cultural lifestyle. Like, check, we raised our kids, we sent them to great schools with all the fields and all the baseball, etc. And now's the time to sort of be out and moving, and a lot of people are taking advantage of it. So that's also
Yeah,
in
yeah.
mind.
I mean, I found actually the other day, I mean, you probably know this, but I now live in Bala Kinwood. And the other day I walked the Kinwood Trail on a Sunday morning before
Yep.
work, walked into Manioc, got some coffee. I mean, I felt like I lived in a little village. It was so much fun.
It's so cute.
Or I can go
I
down
love that
the
bridge.
landing and Lark and walk across the Manioc Bridge into Manioc. It's fabulous.
I know. I love those. I love those little things now. Like I'll go to the Kinwood, the Manny Kinwood Bridge, and I'm like, oh my God, like you're here. I'm in Bala
It's
now.
really
Like
awesome. Yeah. A
it
lot
is
of fun things to do.
a lot of fun things to do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you were to speak to your younger self and you were looking to buy your first home to raise your family, where would you be looking into raising your family? And would it be the Philly suburbs?
So, Neil and I raised our kids in Lafayette Hill, and we really lucked out, Sharon. I mean, I can tell you, we were so young when we bought our house. We didn't really, we investigated, but we didn't investigate the way I probably would now in retrospect. We didn't
Oh
really ask
no.
the right questions, but we really, really lucked out. The bus stop was, two houses down from our house. The school was right down the road. And really, the Lafayette Hill community, I mean, was just, in my opinion, unparalleled. I mean, my kids, all three of my kids went through Plymouth Whitemarsh High
Yeah.
School. They all, if you asked each of them, they would all tell you they had an unbelievable
Right.
experience, both academically, socially, athletically.
Right.
And not only that, even when they were younger, I mean, my kids happened to be athletic, but the community in Whitemarsh, in terms of that, I mean, as the community, Whitemarsh Little League. I mean, I know you and I had spent a lot of time with
Yeah,
that
on the baseball
together.
field. Mhm.
The Conchie Bears football team. I mean, all these wonderful community-based programs that my kids were able to benefit from, and the level of involvement of all the volunteers in the community too was just unparalleled, I think. I mean, we really, really lucked out. So I have to give a huge shout out to Lafayette Hill. I thought it was, and White Marsh Township, I thought it was a really wonderful place to raise my kids. And I don't think I would do it any differently if I had to do it again.
I mean, I'm 100% with you, and I still haven't left. I'm still in the house that I raised the kids. My kids are back, so can't get rid of the house yet.
Well, they're not done. They know what a great place it is to live.
I'm not that great. I don't cook for them. I don't do their laundry. I'm not that mom, but they're still here. It was such a great place. Now I'm going to follow that up. The real estate agent in me is going to follow that up and say there are a lot of fabulous communities very similar to what you're talking about in the regions where I sell, and that, the other suburbs. I mean, you grew up in Upper Dublin, well, in Fort Washington, but on the Upper Dublin side, that's also, a very good area. The one thing I think you and I have known, because I grew up in Lower Merion and so did your ex-husband. Um, Lower Merion is definitely more spread out.
Right.
Like what we have in White Marsh with honestly Miles Park and Yield L House. I've
Right.
always I've always been like, this is the center of our world, and Wawa and blah blah blah. Like it's
Yep.
small town USA. So, and there are a lot of towns around here. Springfield, Montgomery County, the Flowertown, Orland area is another sweet town. And all very close to the conveniences of Philadelphia, which still people are looking, families are looking for. So there's really a lot of good options. But yeah, I'm a big Plymouth White Marsh person. I'll always be there rooting for PW. Definitely.
I'll be right there with you.
Okay, cool. I'll make sure to let you know next time. Actually, you will probably have to tell me when PW is in some basketball thing, because you're definitely going to know because of Danny more than I pay attention anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I have to look at the schedule.
Well, guess what? It's time to turn the tables. It's time for you to get to ask me your question.
Okay. Um, my question for you is, one of the things that I've enjoyed most about owning the store is that I've had the opportunity to mentor a lot of young girls who've worked for me over the years.
Right.
And I wanted to know, if you were mentoring a young woman in business, are there any guiding principles that you'd share with her that you feel have helped you succeed and navigate successfully in the business world?
That's an awesome question. That's
Well,
awesome.
thank you, Sharon.
Not in my current real estate world. I've chosen not to have employees anymore, or staff anymore, I should say. But in my previous world, I'm going to draw out, and Dana Walsh worked with my sister Nancy and I for many years. She was right out of, or recently out of Philadelphia University, now Jefferson at the time, as a retail merchandising type of major. And she came on board as my sister Nancy's buyer's assistant, and ended up floating through the company to so many different roles that by the end of her, I think it was ninth year with us when we closed the business, she was the assistant to both myself and my sister. So she was managing both of us, honestly. She was, as our assistant, she was totally managing both of us. She was doing a lot of the marketing for the stores and our internet business, still helping with buying it's and employees and staffing. So in terms of the mentoring piece, it wasn't an unpaid mentorship. I mean, she was a full-time employee, salaried employee. But she was the kind of person who was a sponge. She just wanted to learn so much and make herself better every day. Um, and we were so lucky to find this person and personality that just knew how to navigate different people, different personalities, and really allow herself to grow, but while at the same time letting us train her in so many different things. So, yeah, I would say I absolutely did that, but again, like not in a unpaid mentoring role position. Definitely, just a phenomenal staffer that stayed with us for a long time. That certainly, she would, clearly say that we taught her so many things, but I would clearly say that she taught me a lot too. What she taught
Yeah.
me was really about, honestly, taking the reins and running with it. she wasn't asked to do very much. She took it upon herself to do most of it.
Yeah, nothing like having a self-starter. I love them.
And you don't always know, right?
No, no,
You just
no.
don't.
It's interesting. One of the things that I'm trying to do at the store now is use it as a platform to do some women's empowerment events. And we
Mhm.
had our first one a couple months ago,
I saw
and
that.
we're going to have another one in a month or so. But I really feel, especially as I've gotten older, I mean, I think that I'm really of the mindset that if you can go and listen to somebody or learn from somebody and take one kernel of information away from them, then that's obviously, worthwhile and rewarding. And I think the thing that I've learned as I've gotten older, that I would impart to other young women is, that it's okay to ask for help. I think that, a lot of women, sort of independent women, are taught like, you can do it yourself, whatever. And I think I personally struggled with that,
Yeah.
when I was a young professional asking for help. And I think that's a really important thing to be mindful of if you're a young woman coming up, in any profession, that, it's okay to ask for help. So that
It's
would
also
sort of
okay to
be,
make mistakes. That's another
of
one of my
course.
sayings. I mean, I've
Yep.
shared this with the podcast before. Make all the mistakes. This is one of my things. Like, make all the mistakes you want, just only make them once. It's
Yep.
really hard to learn how to do things and the right way of doing things when you don't even try it.
Of
So
course. Right.
yeah, and make sure that you definitely send me the date for that second women's empowerment. I did see it at the
Yeah, I
store
will.
at your store, but I think I saw it after it happened. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
please
No, I
let me know.
definitely will. I'm really excited about using the store as a platform to really empower women of all ages and all backgrounds. I think we're in a unique position to do that, and it's something I'm really looking forward to doing, in the next year.
Well, congratulations on building such a beautiful business. I
Thank
really do.
you.
I really respect you. I know that you lost your mother-in-law and your partner, but I really respect you and your business as an ex-retailer that I am. And I really give you a tremendous amount of credit, especially in the world that we just lived through. So
Thank
congratulations
you.
and good
Thank
luck.
you.
And just tell our listeners really quick where you're located, how they can find
Uh,
you.
So the store is Gabrielle. We are located in Bala, right off of Belmont. You can go onto gabrielle's.shop. That is our website. It's also our Instagram and all of our social media platforms. You can actually book an appointment online, or you can give us a call. And we would love to help you guys find something fabulous for all of your upcoming events.
Is it all you have to have a schedule, you have to have a reservation?
So since COVID, we have been by appointment, but we
Okay.
certainly don't turn anybody away if they walk in the door.
Okay.
We're just not there, from 9 to 5, 7 days a week. So
Oh,
we
understood.
are by appointment, and it's really, it's one of the positive byproducts of COVID. It's really allowed us to streamline the business and,
Right.
know when people are coming in. It's a much more focused experience when people come, and it's really worked out nicely for us.
Yeah, understood. That's true. Let's take some positives out of that. So
That's
my
right.
thought originally when I said let me interview Susan was I was gonna, rent a dress. And here I am in my frumpy pink sweater. Next time I want to be in a dress.
You got it. You got it.
I mean, I have one of them in my closet, but that was kind of a boring.
It's time for a new one, Sharon.
It's time for a new one. I don't have any weddings coming. Please don't. My
Right,
God.
right.
All right. Well, thank you
Soon
again,
enough.
Susan. It has really been fun. I hope you enjoyed. We're gonna share the news with everybody. To reach me, you can find me by looking up Sharon Loudenbach on all social medias. I'm under Sharon Loudenbach. On YouTube, it is Life in the Philly Suburbs with Sharon. And then I will be back next time. See y'all again soon.
Thank you.